Welcome back to another youth-centered podcast. Today, we're actually very excited to have Aidan Heim, known as the Comeback Kid. Article was written about him in the Lawrence and Eagle Tribune last Sunday. Aidan's a senior at the high school. We're going to have him introduce himself to you in a second. Our topic today is just a really interesting topic. Aidan is going to talk a little bit about why the resiliency he had to do. He was cut as a basketball player as a junior, and then made a decision to work on his game and give it another shot. And we're going to talk about how that actually worked out for him. So we got a number of questions for him. But before we get started, let's turn it over to Aidan Heim to let us know who is Aidan Heim.
Thank you, Rick. So basically, as you said, I'm a senior at the high school. I'm on the varsity basketball team. And before high school, I was always a baseball player throughout elementary school and middle school. But I decided to give that up for basketball in my freshman year, actually, of high school. I got two brothers, and my family loves to vacation a lot.
Awesome. And you failed to mention that you're also a very popular summer fun counselor, right?
Yes, I am. 2 summers here at Summer Fun.
2 summers. Well, we love having Aidan around, and we've known Aidan since he obviously started coming to the youth center as an elementary school kid, and then through middle school, and then obviously through his high school years. So, Aidan, one of the things we wanted to talk to you about today was a little bit about your own life story on this. So, this is a time of year, there are a number of sports at the high school in every town where they are cut sports. So they're not sports necessarily like football, which is a non-cut sport, or track, or a few other sports, maybe wrestling that is not a cut sport. But there was a number ones, baseball, basketball, and other sports. And obviously basketball is real tough because, you know, a team has anywhere from 12 to 15 players, and at any given time, only 5 guys can be on the court at one time. And you were someone that had been playing basketball since I've known you. And last year as a junior, you had played, if I'm correct, freshman in JV basketball for North Andover. Mm-hmm. And then as a junior, it's always the difficult year where you either make the varsity or you get cut. And you were ready to make the varsity last year. You went to tryouts, and then after a couple of days of tryouts, coach had to bring you in and tell you you didn't make the team. So tell me a little bit about, like, what was the initial feeling when you heard that news, and what were the emotions going on with that?
I'm going to be honest. When he first told me, it hit kind of hard because, you know, when you're in high school and you're doing something your whole life, as a kid, at least for me, and I'm sure I speak for a lot of people, their dream is to play varsity basketball or even further than that. So, I mean, the news did hit hard, and it was upsetting to hear. But after a while, like I looked at myself and realized I got to keep pushing.
So I remember because, and this happens a lot of the kids that I know grew up at the youth center. You know, I saw you back here, whether it be playing at the youth center or Black Knights, and you came in my office and you told me you got cut. And you know, obviously it's tough news for me to hear that, because in a perfect world, I'd want every kid to make the team. And your reaction was you were pretty down. I mean, that's a clear, you know, analysis in terms of that you were frustrated that you didn't make the team. What I did like about you is you didn't do a lot of blaming. So I've had kids in my office that, you know, blame the coach or blame the system, or in some case blame so-called politics and things like that. But you were really down and you didn't make it. And I remember talking to you about other opportunities, like that basketball's a lifetime sport. You can play for forever, and told you some of the opportunities we had down here. And then, you know, you had been involved with AAU, so you had done a little bit of that. So, you know, I think you appreciated our conversation. It didn't change anything. You didn't make the team. And then you had to make some decisions. So what was it like in terms of basketball for you after you found out you didn't make the team, through the winter, where I actually saw you at some games, obviously supporting the guys that made the team? And I know people had come up to you in the springtime saying, hey, is Aidan, you going to try to make it again? What were you feeling during that whole period of time?
I mean, originally my first thought was, it's over. I mean, I got cut my junior year. There's no way I can make it my senior year. And obviously, again, I was very upset. But during that time, I had a lot of people coming up to me like, oh, man, you should still try out. Like a lot of my friends that are playing this year. So that was really what drove me to want to try out again. But like I said, I was pretty upset about the whole situation, considering I had been playing my whole life. So that's.
Now we talk about self-awareness. You know, that's a big word for me. And when you work for me in the summer, we talk about looking in the mirror. And you actually mentioned that you looked in the mirror. When you looked in the mirror, what did you see?
I saw myself. Like, I know I have a lot of. I'm a talented basketball player. Like, I know that myself. Like, not everyone may see that, but I knew that. Just like I didn't work hard enough that last off season, or at least as hard as I could have, and that was the difference between this year and last year. I worked a lot harder this year, and that's why I made the team.
Now, last springtime, did you play AAU again last springtime?
Yeah, I did. I played for the Storm.
And what did that rejuvenate you a little bit? Did that, obviously you had fun playing basketball, but at that point, if I remember correctly, you and I had a couple of conversations. You were non-committal about, trying out again.
Yeah, so basically for me, AAU in high school has been like two completely different worlds for basketball. AAU has always been something where I'm meeting new people, playing with new people, and it's like mostly games and not as many practices, so I always enjoy that. Like, everyone likes to play games. But yeah, so at that point I didn't want to didn't want to put the time back in, because I had pretty much given up and I was so upset about it. So that's why I played AAUs, because mostly for fun, to meet new people. But
so when did you start thinking, yeah, maybe I want to take a look at giving another try at this?
So actually, one of the main influences was during the summer when I was working here. I made a lot of good friends with the juniors. So Matt Kutch, Jack Castellanos, Chris Pensavalle, all of them. And once I got close to them, like, they were just telling me, like, imagine how fun it'd be. Like, we'd all be, and especially Kyle Moore too. We've been best friends. We played through middle school and everything. So, like, we've always talked about what it'd be like to play again. So they were really, like, one of the biggest influences as to why I played again. So
when did you make that decision? Was it after the summertime, or was it during the summertime?
It was probably about the end of July, when summer fun was ending, or first week of August. I made my final decision that I was going to play. I told you that I was going to do BST and I wanted to get back into things. So that was around the time when I figured it out.
Yeah, I was a little surprised, because I had a conversation with you, I think, early in the summertime, and Kyle's father, Mr. Moore, big fan of yours, would always, whenever I'd see Mr. Moore, he'd be saying, Aidan Heim's got to try out for the team. I think he could help us next year. And again, my answer to Mr. Moore was, well, Aidan's got to make that decision if he wants to. So at some point, at the late summer, whatever, you started to make a decision that you wanted to. So take me through what you had to do in your mind over the next few months to get that opportunity in December to try out again.
I knew I had to get in better shape. Most of all, I was pretty out of shape. So I know BST, it's a tough workout, but I knew it helped. So I got to push through that. I did that all fall, every Thursday and Saturday. And for the first time, I actually went to the gym pretty often to play basketball. And it's not as competitive as I would have hoped, but like everyone's a dog there. So at the YMCA, so that helped a lot too.
So you did a lot of things on your own. You mentioned our BST training program. You've mentioned going over to the Y, and I'm sure you played at a variety of different places. Yeah. You looked in the mirror. You said you had to get in better shape. And then, if I'm correct, Coach Tanglis put you on the fall league roster. Is that correct? Did you play in the fall league?
Yeah, I played the second half of fall.
Okay, and what was it like playing in the fall league? And that's the fall league that is actually run here at the youth center with a number of high school teams or whatever. So what was that like for you?
I mean, I feel like it was a good at least starter, just to get like a taste of what it was like playing against varsity level players, because like you said, I played freshman and JV, but I never really hit that top competition. So I feel like that was just a good way to at least get me a little bit of exposure against the talent, the top tier talent. So
nice. So you felt pretty good about yourself at that point?
At that point, like I said, I still needed to get in shape. I was still working, but I felt like I could somewhat keep up with everyone. So I knew if I worked towards it, I could be pretty good. So
All right, so take me through. You make a decision. You do all the paperwork, I guess, that's required that all the high school kids have to do to try out. I'm sure there's paperwork, physical, stuff like that. And then you go to the tryouts, which this year I think was the first weekend in December. I know I ended up getting a call from you 3 days in after, I guess, when tryouts were actually over. So tell me, what was it like going back there for tryouts? Now, you had been cut the year before. Same coaching staff that had cut you, and they're there, and you're with some new people, obviously. So tell me how the tryouts went.
I mean, I was pretty nervous going into the same place that I went last year, and the news wasn't what I had hoped it would be. I mean, I was pretty nervous, but I went in, I worked hard, and things just went my way this year. I mean, I worked, like I said, a lot harder on the off season this year as opposed to last year, so I feel that helped a lot.
So how did you find out you made the team? I'm intrigued to hear. What was that like?
Actually, Tankless called me into his office, and just me, so that really scared me because usually he's calling everyone else in the groups. But when he first called me in, he originally told me that I wasn't guaranteed any minutes, and he told me that I could have been just a practice player. So if I really wanted to play, I had to let him know. But I wouldn't necessarily be a rotational man at that point. So I had to be okay with a role that not everyone maybe would be okay with. So
you were told you made the team, but that there were no guarantees, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what you're saying? There were no guarantees? Yeah, because I ended up, I was actually driving home from Newburyport. I remember this, and my phone rang, and it was Aidan Heim. And, you basically said you made the team, and he had kind of like a level voice. It wasn't like, hey, I made the team. You said I made the team, and I was probably more pumped for you than you sounded on the phone. But then your next line was, but coach didn't guarantee me anything. And I think I said to Aidan, like, so what, right? I mean, you got to go out and try to prove it. But your goal was to make the team, and that day you made the team, correct? All right, so take me through the start of the season. If I'm correct, you started off almost on the injured reserve, so to speak. Yeah. So how has it gone from the day you found out you made the team until, we're halfway through the season now? How's it worked for you? How did it gradually become what it is right now?
So basically, as you said, the injury reserved. The first practice, I got elbowed in the head by a teammate and split my head open a little bit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so...
was that a practice or a scrimmage?
Yeah, that was at practice.
Okay.
And I was a little late on the stitches. I didn't get them. So my mom's actually a nurse, but she just taped it up, so
okay,
left a pretty nasty scar. But and then I was finally starting to get back into things. I was starting to practice, and then we had our second scrimmage, I believe, against Pentucket. And in that game, my first, I think, 40 seconds in, I strained my Achilles. So that was, that was pretty bad. I was upset because my first opportunity to prove to Tankless that I could play, I got hurt again, so it was pretty upsetting. But after that, it took me about a week to get back into things, and I was pretty out of shape when I first came back to practice, but I knew I had to work hard, and I've been working hard up until now, and I'm going to continue to work hard, but I slowly started getting into the rotation, and then I think Tankless realized that I actually have something to bring to the table, so he's starting to play me more and more, and now I'm finally starting, so it's been great.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of being light about this. The reality was you were on injured reserve, you weren't playing any time, and then you finally worked yourself and got into the rotation, and you're even saying yourself you had to get into shape, but you got into rotation. And then the team actually goes on a 3 or 4 game winning streak with you in the starting lineup. And, you never know what coach may be deciding as far as going the rest of the season. But you've now kind of nailed this position as being a starter. And how productive have you been as a starter?
I mean, offensively, my teammates are doing a great job at finding me. They make it a lot easier to make shots when they bring the defense in and give me a dump down. So offensively, I think I've been pretty good finishing around the rim. But I think I've been okay defensively. Like I said, I still need to get in better shape. But I think I've been pretty good so far.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually been, as you know, I've been to the games and, 18 points, 11 rebounds last week. The game against Lawrence last night, you had 14 points, double-digit rebounds. And so is it now becoming the year that you were hoping it be for you individually?
I mean, I never thought I'd get this much recognition, but this is great. I mean, I've always wanted to play on varsity, but I never thought I'd be in the starting lineup. So just hearing my name called with the starters it's surreal. So
What was it like for your parents? Obviously, your parents love you. You're the son. They support you in basketball. How's it been for them when you got cut last year and then obviously made the team now and now a big part of the team? How your parents feeling about this?
I mean, last year my parents were just as upset as I was because I know I've been putting the time in to play basketball, but they put in just as much time driving me to God knows where for AAU tournaments, driving me at 7 o'clock in the morning to BST. So they were pretty upset about it because they were working just as hard as I was. So when I made the team this year, my parents are always like, "Oh, you're the best player ever." I mean, they think I'm the greatest player in the world. So it was great news for my parents. They were so happy for me. So
yeah, I think what's sometimes we don't understand as much as how much effort and time parents got to go into it. Like you said, driving to all tournaments, getting you up in the morning, and being supportive of this. So they live it as much as you guys live on that. So then about a week ago, I had a conversation, and Coach Tanglis told me there was going to be an article about you in the paper. And, Lawrence Eagle Tribune does a really nice job, highlighting our boys and girls that play all the sports or whatever. So I actually thought, oh, that's great. It's probably going to be a little blurb in the paper. And then I open up my paper on Sunday morning, and I see this basic 2 pages with the comeback kid. Some great pictures of you, and a great article. So tell me how that all came about, and what was that like?
I was honestly very surprised. I got a text from Tango saying that the Tribune might interview me. And I was like, for what? I mean, I was super surprised, but he told me he was going to come to practice and take pictures of me. But yeah, like you said, you were expecting a little blur in the paper. I thought it was going to be just a picture of me, comeback kid, and little caption, but you decided to write 2 pages on me. So,
well, it was a great article, Aidan.
Yeah.
And I actually cut mine out and had you autograph it for me here, and we have it at the youth center. And but it was it was entitled "The Comeback Kid," and the focus of the article, which was great, was talking about a kid who got cut from his team and had the resiliency and the fight to come back and have a success story where, last year you're not on the team at all, and this year you're becoming a productive young basketball team. Now, in terms of the team, hasn't been the greatest year in terms of wins and losses. Talk to me a little bit about what's it like as being a teammate, and how's the team doing?
I personally think I think we're a little overlooked, or under, what's the word for, I don't think people see
underappreciated or overlooked in a way.
Yep. Yeah. So I think we're a really talented team. We make a lot of mistakes in the games, which are things we can work on. But I mean, I love the team this year. We all get along so well. We're all best friends, so that goes a long way. Being like that close to your team, because you trust each other outside of basketball. You trust each other on the court too. So when we're all if someone falls on the floor, we all hustle over to get them back up. We all high five. We all clap for each other. So our bond, I think, really helps us as a team, because it just fortifies that chemistry in a way.
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys really get along together. I think the chemistry with you guys is great. As you know, I was brought in to do a little culture workshop with you guys at the beginning of the season. I do it for like 4 high school basketball teams during the winter, and love obviously doing the hometown team. This is my second time doing the North Andover basketball team, and I think we had like a 3-hour workshop where we talked about a lot of things, thought it was great. And since then, I've been back 2 other times to meet with the team and kind of, take the temperature of where you guys are at. And one of the overwhelming things for me is how much you really like each other. It's a close-knit group. The record, obviously, is not the most impressive right now, 5-9, but you have a brutal schedule. Just lost to Lawrence last night. Doesn't get any easy. You got to go to Central Catholic on Friday, and then there's Andover, Lowell, and Haverhill. So it doesn't get easier, but how do you like your chances down the stretch here?
I think as a team, we've had such an improvement. I mean, if you look at us in the first game, we looked like we didn't even know how to play basketball, but now I feel like we're really coming together. In practice, we're all working so much harder than we were at the beginning of the season, and we've just taken a big step forward. I think we look a lot better on the offensive end, and I think in a big way we hustle a lot more. So I feel like that's helping us a lot. So maybe at the beginning of the season, I didn't think we didn't have a chance against these tough Division I teams, but I definitely think we have a much better chance now. So
yeah, I mean it was a game last night. Again, a lot of mistakes and things, but it was a 6-point game in the fourth quarter at Lawrence, which is pretty good. So obviously you move on to Central Catholic. So let me talk to you a little bit more about in terms of some advice that you would give some kids, and we were gonna do this as part of a final word, but I want to get to you right now. What would you say to the kids that maybe have been cut in the past, or a kid that eventually will get cut in the past, who may want to do what you did? What's your advice to that person?
I say the biggest advice is if you love the sport, don't give it up. Being cut is just a minor setback, and you always have the next year to prove yourself. So if you love the sport, work your butt off, because nothing's guaranteed. So keep working.
Just keep working. Now, the other thing is you actually looked in the mirror, as you said, and you said the year that you got cut that you didn't really feel like you did a lot in the off season. Mm-hmm. What's your message to maybe some kids that are actually playing high school basketball now, or any sport, that feel like they're safe because they made the team? What would you say to those kids that maybe need to do a little bit more?
I mean, at least with my high school, nothing at all is guaranteed. You could be in the starting lineup one night. You could not play the next night. It's all about how hard you work and how much time you want to put into the sport. Basketball it's a year-round sport. You gotta be playing all the time. You can't give an entire season up and then expect to be just as good as you were when you were working. So you always got to keep working. You can't take things for granted. Just got to keep working. Yeah,
like one of our captains is Kyle Moore, who was a 4-year varsity player. And our other captain is Jack Morin, who a lot of people didn't think was going to be a varsity player, made it as a junior, and he's a captain now. What do you think Jack Morin and Kyle Moore think about how you came back the way you did?
I think they're both proud of me, because everyone knows that getting cut, that's not a good feeling. So I know I have their support. And I knew I had their support either way if I did or didn't make it. But I think especially for Kyle, we've always been, like I said, great friends. So just to be able to play together again has been great for us. So.
And I know your big champion, Mr. Moore, sits up in the stands, and he's very happy because he was always probably your biggest fan besides your parents, which was great to see. Let me ask you a couple of things. Obviously, this Sunday when this article came out, and thought it was great. It was also a sad day in the basketball world when we lost Kobe Bryant. Where were you when you heard that news, and how did you feel about that?
So actually, I was sitting in my bed watching TV, and I got a text from actually Jack Morin, because I believe he saw Coach Medeiros' Twitter. And when he told us, we were he texted in our group chat, our basketball group chat, and we were like, oh, there's no way. So I'm sure not just me, but I went on Safari, started spam refreshing the feed to see if there was anything on it, and I didn't see anything on it. So I was like, oh yeah, it's fake. But he sent us the TMZ post that I think they were the first people to post out about it. But I was when I found out it was actually true, I was devastated. I mean, I was never a diehard Kobe fan. I wasn't going on YouTube every day watching highlights and everything, but just someone who's done so much for the game of basketball, you hate to see that happen, and especially his daughter too. I'm not a parent, obviously, but in a parent's perspective, that you're losing your daughter, it's terrible. So.
I mean, you mentioned Coach Medeiros, and as you know, I'm pretty tight with Coach Medeiros because he helps me with the BST program, and that's his idol. So, that's actually how I found out. I came out of a gym that I was watching a game, and I saw his tweet about it, and I immediately had to give him a call, make sure he was doing okay. But obviously, earth-shattering news. Kobe. Obviously I'm a lot older than you guys. Michael Jordan was kind of my idol, not Kobe, but always respected the way he played the game. And we implement a lot of Kobe Mamba philosophy, mentality into our BST program. And the Mamba drill we do and everything else. So obviously it was a really tough time for anybody. And, as a parent, you'll be there someday. It was hard enough hearing about Kobe dying, but I was shattered when I heard about Gigi, and who I've been following on social media, and was a terrific young lady and a basketball player in her own right, and just tough news. And hopefully, we continue to push and play the game the way he played it. And I think for a guy like you, I think he'd be impressed with your resiliency that you fought through this. I think that it was a life skill for you, and we're obviously very proud of you on that. So you're a senior at the high school. What's the future hold for Aidan Heim?
Next year, I plan to attend Merrimack for 4 years. I'm planning on majoring in marketing, and I'm still deciding whether I'm going to finish with a minor in business management, but those are the plans. So.
What would you like to do with that marketing degree as you get older?
I haven't looked too much into it, but I'm a basketball player, so marketing for a sports team would be ideal. But I really don't know. I want to see what the future holds and what opportunities I can get in college. So Merrimack offers a lot of internships, so I'm gonna take my chances with those and see if I like anything.
Well, I'm sure you'll be a great success. If I'm correct, I think you guys got like 5 games left in the regular season.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, 5. And then you have qualified for the Division II North State Tournament through a rule called the Sullivan Rule, which you won't. You could still have 10 wins, but if you don't, we've qualified through the Sullivan Rule, which is basically you have to have a 50% record against teams in your division, because we play mostly Division I teams. So you know that you're going to make the tournament. What do you think? What do you think about the Knights getting to the tournament?
I think a lot of people are going to look at us and be like, why is a team with, say, as of now we have 5 wins,
right?
So however many we get at the end of the season, but everyone's going to look at us like, how do they make the tournament? But I think we got a good shot. We got a good team, and if we keep pushing, I think we can make a real run. So
awesome. And obviously everybody here in North Andover wish you guys the best of luck. We've had 2 very successful years with the basketball team ending up in the Songus Arena. So obviously there's a little bit of a step back this year, but who knows? Can get hot and get on a run. What do you have to say about your coaching staff? Remember, it's the coaching staff that cut you, and it's the coaching staff that actually put you back on the team and are believing in you right now. Thoughts about Coach Tanglis and the staff?
Being with Tanglis, gave me some pretty tough news, but that he's a great coach. He knows what he's doing, and as you've told our team many times, he's the most prepared basketball coach ever. Like, he prepares us so well for every game. We go over just about anything we can go over. So when he cut me, like, at first I was like, oh, for real? Why are you doing this? But I know he's making the best decision for the team to be the most successful. So,
what do you think the whole experience for you has taught you about life?
Don't back down. I'm not always going to get, say, the promotion or the job I want, but that doesn't mean I just give up and do something else. I could always keep pushing to do what I want or do what I love. So.
Nice. All right, we like to give our guests the final word, and we talked about the message you wanted to send to maybe the kids out there, but let's give us one more final word. Anything that you want to say to our listeners about, the comeback kid?
I honestly agree. It's a great article. I want people to see my story, because for the people that are in a similar situation than me, they could use that in a way as motivation to keep working, because like I said, nothing is guaranteed. So if you keep working, good things will come out of it. So
it's great advice. Now, obviously, I know your parents love the article and probably your extended family, but what kind of feedback did you get from just friends or around the high school? We go in our gym now and people said, oh, that's the comeback kid. We got the big article in the gym. What kind of feedback did you get from just regular people?
A lot of the kids actually didn't see it, but my teammates were. Now they call me the Tribune kid sometimes.
The Tribune kid.
Or Mr. Tribune, actually, I should say. But a lot of the teachers were congratulating me in school. I think adults read the news more than most of the teenagers.
That's true. That's true. And how'd that make you feel?
it was a little overwhelming, actually. I've never really gotten the attention that it's bringing me, so a little overwhelmed, yeah.
Well deserved. I want to thank you for coming on the podcast and kind of sending a message here. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast is that this is a really good story, Aidan, and you know what I think of you. You've worked for me here. I've known you since you were a young kid. We love you, and it's really good to see a good thing happen to somebody. And I like the message that, you got to look in the mirror, right? You got to figure it out, and, you don't give up. And then you talk. That's why I asked about the life skills on the whole thing, because, you might not get a promotion sometime, or the job might not work out, or you might have a tough boss or whatever, and hopefully those stuff will help you along that way. But again, a great article. Thanks for autographing it for us. And I want to wish you and all the guys on the team, as well as our girls basketball team that's doing very well, best of luck to everybody the rest of the season here. And let's go surprise some people here in the state tournament.
Yep. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Aidan. And we have a number of other podcasts coming up. We're trying to do this every week. We got some great stories coming up from different people. If you do have some topics that you would like us to touch on, or if you got some people that would like to bring us on as a guest, give me up an email or stop by, give me a call at the youth center. We'll make that happen. So thanks again to Aidan Heim for telling his story tonight. And as we finish every podcast, we always say, too much passion is never enough passion.